back and plants everywhere. We don't know where to start. So welcome to a new video and a new year. So happy 2023 everybody. We've got loads of questions to get through, so thank you for all your questions on the last video. I did request them for this Q&A, and I'd like to add a teeny apology as well, just to say I did expect this video to go up a little bit earlier than this, but I've been having a proper break and it's done me the world of good. So let's get started. So I have tried to organise the questions into kind of categories, and I've also tried to pick the ones that come up the most frequently, and I've also picked a few quirky comments as well, which might be quite interesting, so we'll see how we get on with those. And so yes, without further ado, let's get started. First category is called personal. So these are all the personal questions I got, and I've copied and pasted them from the YouTube and then stuck them down into the categories, if you like. So starting off with Susie Gillies. Do your family accept the gentle person that you are? My brothers and I are pretty close, but they've always thought I was weird or difficult just because I was sensitive and quiet. My parents too, though my mum was accepting and one of my best friends. So I'm wondering if you were safe and loved at home in your childhood. Cheers. I was definitely safe and loved in my home. My mum was brilliant, and my dad left when I was about 10. So it was a broken home, and yeah, that kind of messed me up for quite a number of years actually. And yeah, very heartbroken about that I was, especially when I was younger. I think my family did accept me, but I think that they kind of painted me with this general brush of being a chatterbox, so therefore I couldn't be an introvert. And because it was quite a big family and I had a lot of siblings, I think the details of me, if you like, were perhaps overlooked and just, you know, swept with a brush that was rather broad, if you like. So Ashley Murphy has got a question about my relationship with James and how it began. So if you were all friends for a while, then how did it start as a relationship? Like, was one of you into the other one and just didn't tell? Or was the other one just not ready? Did it come just together for both of you at the same time? And how did you let each other know? So after years of friendship, and intermittent friendship as well, it wasn't like a consistent friendship. It was one of those friendships that disappears, but then when you talk again, it's like no time has passed whatsoever. It's one of those friendships. I think it was about 13 years after we very first met. We didn't live in the same town or anything like that. And James came to pick up my laptop to fix it because my laptop had broken. So my daughter had been on my laptop and had been using the MSM Messenger thing that was going around then at the time, really popular. I used to lend her my laptop so she could, like, you know, chat with her school friends, and it had crashed the whole computer, so I couldn't access any of my files. So yeah, all my teachers' files were kaput, so he came to try and fix it for me. And we got together pretty naturally after that, within a matter of weeks really, because then he came back and visited and we went out, and yeah, we went for a big walk in nature and ended up holding hands, and yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. Robin's asking, is James younger than you? He is almost a year younger than me, so officially he is kind of my toy boy, yes. So Talin X is asking, would love to hear about your experiences as a single mum. I hope that's not too personal. I mean, I could tell you lots of stories about being a single mum, but I guess I'll keep it really short for this video. But at the end of the day, I was a single mum from my daughter being 3 months old until she was around 7 and a half or something like that. And I can't lie, it was a really, really tough time. During those years, I did my A-levels, so I went back to college and did my A-levels. I also did an art foundation course, and then I left my hometown and moved to university to go to art school. Yeah, all that happened in that period of being a single mum. Now looking back, I can see some really positive things. It was just me and my daughter, so we went through a lot of stuff together, and so I felt a really special connection with her. And then on the other hand, I think my two biggest struggles with the whole thing were, so I was 19 going on 20 when I had her, and so at university I was the only one I knew with a child. It was impossible basically to go out and socialise with my peer group, and that basically made me a little bit of an oddity and stand out from the crowd, if you like. And so it was really, really hard to make friendships at that time. I think the other really challenging part of that for me was money, or shall we say lack of it. I had very little support, and yeah, it was a really difficult time, and so it was very challenging to afford to live and feed and keep a roof over our heads and things like that. And in fact, when I finished university, I got a job in a special needs hospital actually, so it was working split shifts and all sorts of weird hours, but I still wasn't able to earn enough to pay my rent and cover everything, so I ended up getting evicted from that flat. So yeah, I've been in dire straits financially, shall we say. So within within those challenges, there was also some really amazing, I've got some amazing memories, and yeah, I suppose looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe a bit more cash, but yeah. Because I'd like to have spoilt her a little bit more than I did, you know. But obviously it all turned out okay in the end, because here I am. Do you do anything special as you walk out on menopause or for perimenopause? I think I've talked about this in a whole other video, so I won't go in again too much detail, because this is just like a brief overview of things if you like to get to know me a bit better. I do a couple of things which really work for me. I think one is to really target sleep for perimenopause. I'm still going through the tunnel, if you like. I call it the tunnel because it kind of squeezes me, and it's challenging here and there, and then other times I feel like I'm kind of almost through, but I'm still, yeah, quite challenged at times. Hormones can be pretty erratic, so I probably don't need to tell anybody who's watching this that. But at the end of the day, I do a couple of things, and I think it's really helped me. One of them being I take maca. So maca is the Peruvian root. So I have quite a lot of maca, you know, in my smoothies and things like that. That's supposed to be a really good support for hormones. I also had some herbal tea, which I got from a herbalist, which really helped with certain symptoms as well. And also at that time, I think I was having I think it's called cased berry tea. So they're like the little seeds. And I used to have them with my cumin and my coriander and those, and have them in a big teapot and make a batch of tea in the morning. That really helped, just sort of balance things out when I was a little bit all over the place. I think just things to make sure I get enough sleep, because it was the sleep disruption that was really difficult for me to manage, and energy levels and things like that. And I think as well as all that, obviously I journal. So if you've seen the journaling video I made a few weeks ago, you'll know all about that. That really helps support me emotionally and mentally and psychologically. Okay, we've got a couple more personal questions then. So this one is from Jen. Being alone frightens me. All my family has passed. My husband is all that is left. His side of the family has gone. If I lost him, I would be alone, and also I have no friends. How does one cope? I waste my life thinking about this. How does one cope? Enjoy what you've got. So definitely be in a place of gratitude as much as you can. Perhaps as well, try keeping a journal to help support you in all your emotions, and write it out. And then maybe that gets it a little bit more out of your head. And, you know, maybe even reach out and have some counselling or something like that to actually process all your thinking around it, so that you can be in the moment more and enjoy what you have right now. I think that's the important thing, isn't it? I'm pretty much in the same boat as I said in the last video, in the sense that it's just me and James most of the time. And so yes, if he wasn't there, I think we can also appreciate an online community. So perhaps you can reach out to someone or somewhere online. There are quite a few Facebook groups, I think, and things like that. If you don't like Facebook, it doesn't have to be Facebook. There are things out there online that can really help support us, aren't there? So, but you're definitely not alone in your loneliness. You're not the only one. And so just knowing that might help you reach out to different places, and perhaps online and things like that. It's not easy navigating loneliness, that's for sure. Kristen Heather 1 says, I probably have untreated PTSD. She does too, is what she's saying. I think maybe we all have a bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, because life is very bumpy. A lot of us have difficult childhoods and childhood traumas, and a lot of us then move into young adulthood and adults with adult trauma. And so I think a lot of those things can be a big shock to our systems. Life gets busy and we don't process them properly, and maybe we store them in our body and different things, and it comes out inappropriate behaviours and erratic emotions and in all sorts of ways. And so yeah, I think it's very common. So that's the end of the personal questions. So there's a couple of questions that I've included into what I've called a quirky category, and I don't see them as unkind, but I did want to just address them, if you know what I mean, because they're a little bit quirky. You'll see. The first one's from AB. At the risk of inviting scorn, how can you really be alone when these videos are clearly and carefully thought through, such as the static camera filming you as you walk away? Things like that I do on a tripod. So yes, I was on my own for the majority of that video, and then a couple of times maybe when I'm walking in the woods with James will take the camera and do some shots. I would say 95% of the video is shot with a tripod by me, and the editing is all done by me, so for the YouTube. So that's answered to that one. And then I've got Anne of Cleavers, and I think this is an important one. You have something to look forward to, as in the return of your partner. If you became ill, would he not be there? Yes, he would. You have only to be alone for a few days. Try losing both your best friends and your mother, who you were carer for, so effectively losing your job as well. These things happened to me in the space of about 3 months this year. I speak to a grief counsellor once a week. I have no other support. Try that on for size. Your loneliness may seem more bearable. So firstly, absolutely, hands down, I don't hide the fact that I have James. In fact, I put him right at the beginning of the video because I don't want to mislead anyone that I'm this, lonely person that hasn't got anybody to turn to. And so soft hugs for your own situation, because I know, again, you're not the only one. I am very blessed as well, and I'm fully aware of that. And I thought, hopefully, I made that clear in the video. I think the other thing to address here about try that on for size is that could be seen as let's see, it's a competition. How bad do we actually have to get and feel before we're allowed to say, for example, I feel lonely? So even though somebody has a partner like me, and even though I'm not completely on my own, I don't have friends and I do get lonely. So is a comment like that saying, well, you can't say you're lonely until you're as lonely as me? And so then it becomes this human competition, doesn't it? I think it's a dangerous game to play, the whole competitive thing. And it doesn't take away the fact that this person, this Anne, she is in a very lonely place, and it's a really challenging place for her, obviously. I'm sure many of us on here empathise with that, without saying. I mean, there's not a lot we can actually do to help, in the sense we don't know who and where she is and things like that, but I do think we can help people in our own communities. And so I think that's the message from that. That's the message that I took from that anyway. But at the same time, we can't measure our levels of despair and say it's only when you reach this level that you're allowed to say, I'm lonely, because it's relative. And I can only speak from myself and my own experiences. I can categorically say as well, I didn't share all the ins and outs of my life in that video, and there's a lot of stuff I didn't put in the video because it's private and personal to me, or maybe it involves other people, and I don't want to speak for other people. So I can only speak from me. I do get lonely and I do find it quite hard sometimes, and that is what I was describing. Do I have every right to say that? Yes, I believe I do. I think the lesson in that, isn't it, is to remember that we're all entitled to our feelings, and it's not a measurable thing. Those were two quirky questions. There might be more quirky questions coming up later, but I didn't want to just ignore the ones. So I had some silly questions as well, and by silly I mean they are either random or weird or written to maybe cause a reaction from the person that they're writing to. So I guess in this case, me. So I just kind of ignore those because I call them my silly questions. But any questions that actually I feel do have value and aren't, they're not written with an intention of being unkind, but they have a genuine feeling behind them, is why I include them. Anyway. So I think I've just answered a question actually that comes up later, which is how to deal with the stuff that you get online, like the online bullying thing. And yes, it does happen from time to time. The majority, I would say 99.9% of any interactions or feedback or comments that I get are positive and lovely, mind-blowingly, heartwarmingly positive, if you know what I mean. So amazing. And those are the ones to focus on. And if there is a question that, is really offensive and other people might find it offensive to read it, and I come across it, so I don't always come across them all, delete, block, there are ways around it. But I've only ever had to do that once, in actual fact, so I've been very lucky. So moving on to the quick fire round then. Jelena Cook's asking, I would like to ask, please, when you used to be a teacher, what did you teach? I was a primary school teacher, so that means I was qualified to teach between 4 years and 11, I believe, something like that. So I taught everything, basically. Mary Callan is asking, have you ever been to Ireland? Plenty of fairies here. Now, Mary, I'd like to ask you a question, in the sense that I haven't been to Ireland. I've always wanted to go, preferably with James in a van would be perfect for me, in a little sort of fairy tour, if you like. Where would you suggest I go in Ireland to visit the fairies? TX Space Mum is asking, along with being an amazing artist, oh, thank you very much, what else would you love to do? From Texas. I always wanted to learn to play the piano, but I think if I was looking for a different career, a different profession, I think I would have to say I would have loved to be a dancer. Santoshi Fast is asking, how do I become a Patreon, and sorry to ask about the price. You don't have to be sorry to ask about the price. The price on Patreon ranges between £1 a month to, I think it's £18 a month. There's no minimum period, so you can literally sign up and cancel at any time. There's no penalty for that if you like. And how do you become a Patreon? You click on the link in the description and it'll take you to my page, basically, and it'll explain everything on there, hopefully. Marzina Krupa is asking, where do you get your clothes from? Do you shop secondhand? Yes, usually I do shop secondhand, and it's usually in charity thrift shops. My daughter makes my dungarees. Occasionally I'll buy something new if I really like something, or I want something specific. So like I needed a really warm winter coat, so I went to TK Maxx and bought a really, good one. Ella's asking, Wendy, what are 5 things we don't know about you? So let's think, 5 things you don't know about me. So my first job was a hairdresser. You probably don't know that about me. And you probably don't know as well that I actually got fired from that job. So I got fired from my very first job. So that's 2. What things have I got in my pocket? At the minute in my pocket, I always take tissues and lip balm. I have to have that everywhere with me, on my person as well. I'm a little bit obsessed, and have always been, with lip balms. Something else that you probably wouldn't know about me is if I was going to have tea with somebody, I would love to have had a tea date with Audrey Hepburn or Frida Kahlo. And then for number 5, something that might surprise you is I have always been really self-conscious of my voice. When I first started the YouTube, it was really hard for me to edit myself. I've kind of got used to that now, but I can't watch the videos again. Once they've, gone up and finished, I don't like watching them again. Paul Stride is asking, have you ever experienced the fairy realm? I think I kind of have, and I think for me it's more related to nature spirits. I don't think we know everything about our existence. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, if you like. I'm very much sensitive to energy and changes and things like that. I think I can sense certain things. Dee Dee's asking, what is Happy Mail? Happy Mail is the monthly post I send out on the Patreon. Lillian Williams is asking, are your fairies for sale and how can we order? The fairies are not for sale yet because they're not finished. So Fairy Grace, so this one, she is almost there. Focus please. I'd like to release some of the fairies as stickers and postcards and things like that. So they will be coming, so you have to have a look in the shop, and I'll let you know on here or on the Instagram when they're available. Let's have a little wee stretch, shall we? And a little tea break. So if you're having a tea, cheers to you. Are you going to focus on my teacup? I hope so. So we're moving on to health, beauty and fitness, which is a little bit funny because obviously it's not my area of expertise. So a couple of questions about my diet. Robin Rice and Joellen Fritchen. So question 1 is your diet. I've gathered it's very healthy and perhaps vegetarian. I am vegetarian, yes. Asking as a 53-year-old who's always been slim and active, and I now notice some weight gain as I'm not happy about it. I think that can happen, can't it? Menopausal symptoms and things like that can get you a little bit, wider than perhaps we once were. I'm not always super healthy. I like sweeties. I also drink coffee. I kind of try to be really healthy, and if I get into a good habit and a good routine, I can maintain that pretty well. Joellen's also asking about any soup, a favourite soup recipe, and in actual fact there's a couple of things that I can just add to a soup and it just tastes amazing. And James made the most amazing soup over the Christmas holiday, which I know what it was. It was cauliflower, carrot and parsnip, and it made the most delicious soup. But I do find adding carrot and adding courgette can make, a really delicious soup. And so, you can be really healthy with soups. I also love smoothies, green smoothies. I have spirulina in my orange juice. I try to keep pretty active and that kind of thing as well, but I think there's a question on that coming up as well. I think we just have to do our best. I think that's the key, isn't it? We just have to really do our best, and we have to be really honest as well. And if we have been letting things slip a little bit, we're noticing, say, some weight gain and things like that, I think we just have to do that thing where we have to be really honest and refocus and see if we can reset our systems and improve where we can, when we feel we're ready. Somebody called My Stories is asking, do you like to share what you eat or prepare your meals on camera? Do you lift weights at home or work out at the gym? I do prepare some smoothies and some meals online. On here, not very often. I sometimes share what I'm eating in the Patreon, so on the lens and things like that. The lens is like a thing that I post up every day. It's like Instagram stories, if you know what Instagram stories, and they stay up for 24 hours, and so it's kind of like in the moment, what's happening in the moment. I suppose, thinking about it, I usually film in the studio, and so I'm not at home preparing meals, if that makes sense. As for working out, I love yoga. I used to have a very regular everyday yoga practice, and I was really consistent. And then last year I kind of stopped doing yoga, and I'm not really sure why. I would like to take that up again. I do walk a lot. I think that's my main exercise. I don't really like sweating, so I don't like workouts at the gym. I think if I was really, really wealthy, the most ideal situation I could possibly have would be to have my own indoor swimming pool, if that's not too much to ask. So just put that out there, ask the universe, and then I would swim every day, because I love swimming. The last question in this category is from Resin Art Creations. Would it be possible to talk about dealing with menopause and being an artist? I'm an artist myself, and I don't get an opportunity to talk to other fellow creators about the challenges we face in dealing with the menopause. I'm trying to stay creative at the same time. I love your videos. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, she says. Thank you too. The main problem I've had with my menopause and creating is energy levels. So maybe moods as well. So by that I mean erratic energy levels and sometimes erratic moods that go all over the place. You know, if I've had a really emotional dip, shall we say, because there's always and then a dip. Sometimes I'm not in the right place to create. Sometimes that's really helpful. It's a really good time for me to do journaling, for example. So it's been balancing that out. But I think my main difficulty has been my energy levels, because energy has gone, you know, fairly up and then off. I never know what I'm going to get when I wake up in the morning. So I can wake up in the morning and I'll have, you know, all these things that I plan to do. I'm going to do this and I'm going to get that, and, you know, potter and tidy up the studio and continue that painting and whatever else it is, and I can't do it. And so then I'll have to slow down, have a bed day, change the plan, prioritize and things like that. So I've had to, yeah, remap on a daily basis, if you like. Not so much anymore. So there is, I think, a process of coming through what I'm calling a tunnel, a portal, if you like, that now and again gives you a good squeeze, and it's uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. But yeah, that's been my greatest challenge, I think. But I think, you know, like creativity, we've got to try and go with the flow. If some days we can find the incentive and find the courage and we can actually flow those things together, we can use the creativity to support the menopause and the changes and that kind of thing. And so that's how I've really tried to, you know, navigate that. Not easy. So I got quite a few questions on hair, so I thought I would address some of those. So Christina's Way is asking, why don't you use makeup like a fairy and put some pastel colours on your hair? I might do one day. I kind of had some pink, which I gave away, and I was going to use and I never did, so I gave it away. And I do like pink, I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit scared that it's going to stain, you know, the colour, maybe. I don't really know why I didn't put the pink in, because it probably would have looked quite nice. Small House in the Meadow. That's a nice name, isn't it? Small House in the Meadow. I have a question about your beautiful mermaid hair. Did you ever dye it? How long has it taken to grow this long? I love your hair, it is gorgeous, and I want to grow out my colour and grow it as long as yours. I think I could do a whole video on my grey hair story, if you like, because it was a process emotionally as well as, you know, the whole thing. But I did used to dye it because my grey roots would come through every sort of 3 weeks or so, because I was really, really dark, and so I used to dye it regularly. And so growing it out, because it was almost black in actual fact, was, you know, quite a process when it started, you know, growing out, and you've got that kind of line. It's quite strange, it looks quite strange. And how long has it taken you to grow it this long? It was almost this long when I started growing it out. It is a bit longer now, and I do need to cut some off because it's getting a little bit silly long, if you know what I mean. So I can't manage it, it's so long. I grew it over, you know, quite a long period of years, so I don't really know how long it took me. But I do know how long, I think it was 5.5 years for my greys to come all the way out. And some people comment and say, oh, I can't wait to see what your hair looks like when it's fully grown out. But it actually is fully grown out. It's just got a lot of dark still at the back and then a lot of light at the front, because we all have different patternings, don't we? And so these dark bits are completely natural now, and they are infused with the grey. And then I've got, you know, more at the front. And you're saying you want to grow out your colour as well, so I wish you well on the whole journey of it, because it's yeah, it's quite a wonderful one. Paula's saying, I'm wondering what your hair care routine is. I remember you once said you wash your hair once a year. What do you use and how? So basically, I can't remember the last time I washed my hair. I brush my hair twice a day, so that helps, you know, with the oils distribution and things like that. I also use a dry shampoo, or corn flour works as well, and it's not as toxic as nasty dry shampoos. But I'm feeling the need to wash my hair, and so I've got a question for you. If you know of any natural ingredient shampoos and conditioners, then leave them in the comments for me, because I'd love to find a really good one that I like. I've tried a couple in the past. So I think the reason I stopped washing my hair is because I don't like the chemicals they put in the shampoos and conditioners. And even when it's, you know, from the health food shop and it says it's a natural shampoo, if you read the ingredients, it's literally full of, do you know what I mean? So I was very disillusioned from all that chemical stuff. And I'm not fully chemical free with all my, you know, beauty products and things like that, but I'm a work in progress, working towards that, if you like. So, and I don't want to use anything on my hair that isn't, you know, fully natural. I tried making my own shampoo, and my hair, it was like lard. It was so greasy. So in the end, I went through a process of not washing it, and so it was a little bit, you know, stinky for the first couple of months, and then it regulates itself out and you have quite a nice shine on it as well. What else do I use in my hair? I do use some hair oil, so I've got some argan oil. I really like olive butter. My hair seems to like that. Not so much coconut oil. My hair doesn't like that. So try to find an oil, if you want to use a hair oil, that your hair likes, because I think we're all different. Yeah, it took me a little while to try some and find the ones that my hair liked, and then I brush those through maybe once a week, or once every 2 weeks even. And that's all I do really. I plait it at night, and it doesn't tangle. But as I say, I'm needing to chop some off. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do that soon. Last hair question then from Amy. You have a scarf in your hair. I can never get those to stay. How do you get that scarf to stay in? Well, you could clip it. I don't have, you know, those Kirby grips. You could clip it there, like, you know, like Indian ladies with their saris and head coverings and things like that. You could actually use some clips either at the back or the front. I don't clip mine, I just kind of tie it, and then I do a bow. So I tie it at the back, because people have asked how I tie it, and then I do it in a bow, and then the things that stick out from the bow, I kind of tuck that in, and that kind of, yeah, stops it falling off so much. But I guess it falls off a little bit here and there, but I don't really mind. But you could always use little clips quite invisibly, I think. So let's move on to business then. So Tiana Jamison is asking, why did you shut down your Facebook group? It was my favourite place, but it seemed like your reasons for shutting it down were political. That's a good question in a way, because I do get asked that quite a lot. I did used to have a really lovely Facebook page, which was my freedom journaling group. So it was a journaling group on Facebook, and it was before the lockdowns, before the YouTube. You know, I'd grown it for quite a number of years, if you like. I kind of fell out a little bit with Facebook for a start, and so I'd been considering closing it down because I wasn't sure about staying on Facebook. I'm still on Facebook for now. I didn't want to be as involved on Facebook, and I was on there quite a lot because of this group. And so as I got busier and busier in my business, you know, something had to give. That was the casualty, if you like. And I think the reason I actually closed the group down, it got really unpleasant in there with a really small minority of people. So as the group grew, the majority of people in there were the most beautiful, loving, compassionate, special people in there. I really enjoyed the group and interacting, and the years that, you know, I spent running it. But there was a teeny minority. So on top of this kind of like falling out with Facebook kind of thing and just not wanting to be as involved, there was quite a lot of self-promotion from this really tiny number of people, and it became quite difficult to police and moderate the group And it was so time consuming to do that. You know, because I would send private messages to the people doing it and say, look, it's part of the rules. We don't put links and things like that to our own groups and promote. And I think as the group grew larger and larger, this became more and more of a problem. And so with regret, and you know, it broke my heart to do it, I did close that down. So sorry about that. I was doing a lot of journaling in the Patreon at that point, in the pockets tier, so the £5 a month tier, and I put the journaling rewards into the £1 a month tier at that time when I closed it. And so anyone that wanted to join the Patreon at the £1 level still got the prompts and the community, which I think was the important part. And I was sorry to do that. Yeah, that's why I did it. Yes, in that sense, I think it was, you know, the internal politics, shall we say, of a really small minority. Quick question from Artie Miss, and same question from Salvla Monica too, which was, what equipment do you use to shoot and edit, by the way? I've done a video on how I film my videos. I'll try and link that below as well. I think I've called the video How to Do YouTube, and then I, you know, share all that. And with my editing suite, I now use Final Cut Pro X. Yes. Belkis Taurus is asking, I love watching you, you bring peace to my heart. Thank you so much. Your art is so beautiful. Have you thought of expanding beyond cards and prints, maybe other things such as coasters, plates, teacups? And then Nana Bjork is also asking, can you make tarot cards? There will be new things coming to the shop, and I may indeed do a tarot deck or an oracle card deck for creatives, maybe fairies, I don't know. That might be coming at a later date. But P. Larrow is saying, can you talk about income streams as an artist? This is a really important subject, which again could be a video all of its own, isn't it? But in brief, my streams of income are my Etsy shop. Now, hopefully want to close my Etsy shop and open my own shop, because I'm not a big fan of Etsy. So again, that could be a whole other video in a way. A lot to say about the Etsy thing. But for now, it's on Etsy. So that is a source of income for me. Also, the YouTube is a source of income for me because I have adverts on the videos. And so when the adverts come up, I know it's annoying, but it means I do get paid for my time if the videos, you know, get views. But I do get paid for my time on the YouTube a little bit. But it is an income, and so I'll state it on here. And then my main source of income is from my Patreon page, where I do, you know, my tutorials and happy mail and as many offerings as I can, you know, cram into my month to give my lovely Patreons some treats, if you like. And so that support from that special community is my third income source, if you like. I guess I could add in there on the YouTube sponsorships. I very rarely do any sponsorships, and so it's got to be something that aligns with me and my values, and the price has to be right and the timings have to be right and things like that. When you grow a YouTube channel, you get a lot of companies reaching out to you who want to send you free stuff so that you show it on your videos. It's difficult to navigate that in a way, and it's difficult to put a value on some of that in a way. Oh, I get loads of free stuff. Now, I don't want loads of free stuff because I don't want loads of art supplies that I haven't picked out myself, because in a weird way I'm really kind of a minimalist, aspiring. I only want stuff I want, basically. I don't want to feel in a position where I'm kind of promoting stuff that I haven't selected myself and whatnot. So it's a little bit of a maze. Yeah, I could add in a couple of sponsorships there because I have done them in the past, and I might do them again if it's the right thing. So those are they're my sources of income. Lady Ravenhill, did you ever deal with imposter syndrome in your art? Particularly when building your art business, how did you deal with those mental blocks and keep going? I think we all get insecure, don't we? In relation to everything, whether it's about your business or you personally and this, that and the other. I think I get more insecure personally. So it's all about, you know, kind of like, am I enough and am I worthy and those kind of things, the things I kind of put in my journal. And so when it came to my business, I think I had a solid grounding, and, you know, my mum has always called me an artist. I've always felt like an artist. I feel, you know, I'm not by any means the greatest artist in the world. That's not what I'm saying. But my confidence in what I do is at a level where I felt confident enough to put it on the YouTube, basically, if you know what I mean. If I do have insecure days, you know, we all have those days, no matter what we're trying to create, whether we're painting or musicians or writers, you know, we all have those days where we have blocks and insecurities. And so you're asking about the mental roadblocks and keeping going. I always say, shine when you can, cocoon when you need. And so I think that's what carries me through. And so on those days where I need to cocoon, I do. I have a rest, I walk away, I maybe come in the studio and have a go, and if it's, you know, all a complete disaster, I'll go home and I'll try again the next day. And I don't worry about it too much because I kind of see that as the normal process, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's not easy for sure, and we all feel it. The Artistic Yogi says, I'm very interested in pricing as a new seller of my art stuff. Yeah, figuring it out, she says. Okay, my best way of pricing work is to give it a number and then I sleep with the thought of that for a few nights. So say if I've got an original painting, or say if I was selling, you know, my journals. I mean, I wouldn't sell my journals, but, you know, say if I was selling my journals, say if I said, right, this one is going to be £75, for example, I'd price it and then I would sleep on it, and I might sleep on it a couple of times. I'd see where it felt comfortable, and then I might push it up or push it down a bit until I got to a figure that I felt comfortable. And it would be in relation to the expertise of the item, you know, whether it was an original or a print, how long time-wise I spent doing it, how long time-wise it took me to get to the point of being able to do it as well has to come into it, doesn't it? And those kind of things. And that for me is the best way, is the easiest way of doing it, if that makes sense. Zoe Hilger is asking, my Q&A is, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to take art from a side hustle to a job they can live off? I see you as such as inspiration for who I was meant to be, and I'd love to know your thoughts. Now, I get questions like this quite a lot, so I will address this to anyone that's asked this question, because there's quite a few of you, I know. So how do you go from part-time of doing what you want to do, which is basically doing what you love, your creative career, if you like? How do you make the jump from part-time working for the man and part-time doing what you love and into full-time? To be absolutely honest with you, and there is a video up on here which I think is called How I Became a Full-Time Artist. It gives you the whole story of that, so you can go back and watch that video, and I'll try and remember to link it down there as well, maybe up there too. But just a quick nugget on here. I think you have to jump when you're ready, and only you know when you're ready. And so for me, it was when the lockdowns hit, and that was the catalyst, if you like, that was the final push. You know, obviously we have to figure out, can we pay our bills? What bills have I got? Have I got any help? Have I got any support? Are there any government grants or funds for new businesses? You know, there wasn't in my case. That's just the way it was. Everybody's scenario is going to be different, isn't it? Because we're all unique and we all have different situations. So I would say go within, and you will know when you're ready to make that leap, because I think it's always going to feel like a leap of faith, and it's scary, but it's exciting as well, and an adventure. And you know, what's stopping somebody, say if they make the leap, and I know people that have done this as well, it hasn't happened in my situation yet. You know, I've got, like I said, a few streams of income coming in, so I'm not just dependent on one thing. If I was just, say, for example, dependent on the YouTube, you know, it's all over the place. So it's not really a consistent income. So I need various sources of income. So I would suggest that as well. That's a really good way to go. What I was going to say is, what's stopping somebody jumping 100% in, and then maybe 6 months, 9 months down the line going, I think I just need to support my income with something else for a few months, just to, you know, maybe gather a little bit more in your savings to support the next stage of the journey. So everybody's journey is different. Don't judge yourself or compare. That's my advice. Good luck. Anna V has asked a very similar question, actually. I was wondering how you get started with your business. Can you find mentors in the field? You know, when it's a business, you have to get practical. You have to think, you know, what are my bills, and pay them, and have those multiple sources of income, be it from 100% of your craft or 70% of that, and then maybe you've got some outside income coming in. So you know, that's something you have to weigh up yourself, and also get your timings right for you on. I think what I'm trying to say is there isn't a magic formula for that. It is a unique decision that we take. And I have people in the Patreon, and they ask me questions about their business and things like that, I do quite a regular Q&A in there, and so that's part of that for me. And so yes, I guess you find someone that inspires you and maybe reach out to them, and then you can have that support and maybe some advice as well. It's a really good way to go. And Rebecca Pollywog Flats, what a fantastic name you have. Enjoy your videos. Happy holidays to you and to you. I'm very interested in how you run your art business. Yes, I think, there's many things to say about, running a business where it's like being organised, sorting your diary and your calendar, making a plan, making it work for you, fitting it into things like energy levels and personal life and all that stuff. And so it's a real road to navigate, and I think a whole video in itself on that. So, if you want me to make a video on it, I can. Let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to do that. So colour capacity is asking again how to price work and that kind of thing. So I think I've answered that one. And also, how do you charge shipping for international sales when you may not be sure how much it will cost until you mail it? So I will weigh something out, and I have a leaflet from the UK Royal Mail Postal Service, and so I calculate my costs like that. And in fact, I need to recalculate because the costs have gone up exponentially. It's very expensive and it's not a great service. And if you work for Royal Mail, I'm not blaming you personally, because I know that you all do a really good job and you're working really hard, but yeah, as a service it could be much improved, I think, and it's really overpriced, I think, now for what it offers. Anyway, almost went off on a little rant there, didn't I? I can't believe we've got there, but we're down to the last category, which is arty questions. Question from Laurie Early. I'm curious to know what creative things you did as a young girl. Did you always paint? Did you do something else, crafts, games, role playing, as a child that made you happy? I did do crafts and dressing up and role playing and all that stuff. I used to love scrapbooking. I used to love crochet and knitting, and I used to sew. So I was making a patchwork quilt and clothes for my dolls. But yes, I've always done drawing and painting as well, right from being a little girl. I think that was encouraged as well because I've got a really creative and arty mum. Short Noise is asking, thank you, YouTube mama. Oh, sweetie. What are your art inspirations, artist books, favourite watercolour paints? My watercolour paints at the moment that I love are my Daniel Smith palette. Let me go and get them. Hang on a sec. They are these, not sponsored or affiliated, but is it going to focus on there? There we do. And that is the Daniel Smith. Love those. And then art inspirations and books. I did a whole video a couple of weeks ago. I'll link somewhere for you, all about my favourite books and artists. So, crafts by you. What has your transition into different stages of your art practice been like? Struggles, aha, music moments, victories, advice to others. I know I'm still navigating that road, if you like, and there's always twists and turns along the way, and I really enjoy that, and I get surprises and challenges. A couple of years ago I was painting things I didn't like. I did a video about it, and then I moved through that, and you can sort of, if you watch the videos after that, you can see how I moved through it until I got to a place that I was, happier with my florals. It was actually my flower power project. And so, yeah, it's definitely a journey. And I think my biggest aha moment is to do with struggles, and it's knowing and remembering and reminding myself when I'm going through those challenges and struggles with my artwork that that's where the treasure is. That's where I'm pushing out of my comfort zone and I'm learning something new. And so it might get all messy for a while, and then I'm going to come out the other side, and I'm going to hopefully have moved forwards with my artwork, pushed it forwards, pushed it to the next level, if you like. And so it's remembering in those struggle times when you're like, nothing's going right, and you don't like anything you're making. It's like, keep pushing through, because that's where the magic happens. Touch wood. Emma MG is saying, I'm trying to get into art journaling. Where do you get your inspiration from? And what one item could you not do without when doing it? My biggest inspiration for my journaling is going within. That's where I go, and often out into nature as well. So I think those two sources of wisdom, if you like, wisdom from here and wisdom of being out in nature, the awe and wonder of nature, not having to be surrounded by people and all the noise and the distractions and the multitasking that goes on in our crazy world, current world, technological stuff as well. It's all really loud, and so going out in nature and I can get quiet and go within and listen. and I can listen to my inner voices, and I know what to journal about then. So I think that's my greatest inspiration. I do like to look at things to do with human design, and maybe that helps me direct where I'm going to go next, and also in cycle with the moon cycles. So yeah, that informs my journaling, I think. And then the one thing I couldn't live without with my journal, what would that be? I think at the moment that would be probably my white pens. So I've got like a jelly roll and a Posca. So yeah, I would say white pens is probably the one thing I couldn't live without, because I love dark backgrounds. I love adding white onto dark backgrounds. White pen. And yeah, so I love having like a black page to write on, whether I paint it dark or yeah. But to be honest, I can't narrow it down to just one thing, because I need all my stuff, all my journaling stuff. And there is a video there is a video with my favourite journaling supplies, which I made about a year ago, and I'll link it. I've got quite a few videos to link now, haven't I? And Carrie Martin says, hi Wendy, love your vlogs. Thank you very much. What are some of the things you do to develop your art practice? I'm struggling to develop a regular practice and was wondering what type of things you do. I would decide first of all whether you're a creature of routine or whether you're not. If you are a creature of routine like me, then try and get into a routine of 5, 10, 30 minutes of drawing practice. Because if you keep it simple and you've just got this is a crayon, but say a pencil and your notebook, two things, and maybe you're into butterflies and you've got a really nice source material book that you can, use as source material and sketch, but have a regular or a regularish session, and then you start to build a little bit of a journey in your book, and a few pages that you do, it will start to give you incentive to do a few more pages. And you might have a page that you don't like, and then you can paint over it or glue them together and then move on. So just keep going through that period of the things that you don't like. You're never going to like everything, but just keep drawing. That would be the thing I would do to start me off, definitely. And when you say what things did I do to develop my art practice, I still do that now. I still come back to my drawing over and over and over again, and I go wild and free with all my florals, and I come in and do my fairies, and then I think I need to draw something. So I'll sit and draw. I might take some photographs of my hands in different positions and things like that, and sit and concentrate and draw. Or a few months ago, you might have seen on here, I had my Kate Greenaway book, and I picked a couple of pictures out of there to sketch into my journal and that kind of thing. So I do it now. That's what I do. Mahoney one is asking, are you a self-taught artist, or did you go to art school? I think I've already mentioned on here, I did go to art school. So I did 1 year art foundation and then 3 years, so 4 years at art school. Also asking tips on what you can do to improve. I think, like the last question, I would come back to my drawing, and you like drawing fairies and mermaids. So yeah, practice drawing some fairies and mermaids, pencil, paper, and repeat. And sometimes, what's really, really nice is to repeat the same picture over and over again. So you might draw something from source material and draw it once, repeat, do it again, do it again, do it again. I do this. I've got multiple of the same fairy but a different version, and each time you do, you'll learn something and you'll move forward. Often as well, you come back to the first or second one that you've done, and there's an element of freshness and surprise in those, a quality that you can't quite put your finger on that you really like, and then you try and grow that as well. So it's you're picking out then from several different things the way, the direction and the style, because you're also asking about, I don't seem to have a style, and that's where your style, you'll start noticing things, and you can start pulling out different elements of your own style. It will start to evolve and show itself, if you like. Dreaming Cat Studio, I have a question for your Q&A. Given you enjoy painting and drawing sweet, cute, light-filled fairies and mermaids, do you ever feel drawn to create darker, heavier, scarier creatures? Not really, no. In a nutshell. I'm not saying never. I think I do draw some pesky, cheeky fairies and pixies now and again. I certainly have in the past, and that's quite fun. So I'll never say never, because I don't know quite. Like I say, I'm still navigating my own development along that creativity path, and it's a really lovely journey to be open. I don't want to close anything off. At the moment, we've gone, yeah, pretty soft and cute at the moment, so we'll see where it evolves. And the last one from Angelique, I began to teach myself to paint trees and seascapes 6 months ago. Pastels and acrylics. I'm passionate about painting. Do you advise me to take drawing classes? I've never had any art classes. I think that would be a wonderful idea. If you have the opportunity and an art class that you really quite fancy trying, I would say go for it. And even if you're a little bit nervous or you feel a bit out of your comfort zone, go anyway, give it a go. Try it once, you might like it. The other thing about going to a class, and this is a real joy for me of going to art school, is being within part of a creative community. So you're with like-minded people and you might meet some really great creative folk, and you learn from your peers as much as you'll learn from the teacher, if you like. You learn from yourself, you learn from each other, and you might get some projects set by your teachers, but that's how you're going to develop and improve. And going back to the drawing suggestion as well, I suggest the same to you. Go back to a drawing practice and try and do it regularly. Best of luck with it as well. Happy creating. So I need to have a big stretch now and yeah, maybe go for a stomp down the road, even though it's raining, and get some fresh air and move my body a bit. And I've no idea how long this video is, so hopefully it's not too long. I've still got a few pages to go, but I couldn't do any more, to be honest, because I've been talking too long, and this video is probably far too long as it is. Thank you so much for watching and keeping me company as always, and all your lovely comments down below. I will check those out for sure, and try to keep your lights shining bright, and I will see you in the next one. We'll be looking at my journals for 2023 and what I'm going to be doing in them, because I'm not just going to have one, and maybe we'll do a little bit of journaling together. What do you think? We need to do a flip through, don't we, of this one? So I've had people asking me for that, so